It's just about Donald Trump flexing. When he's flexing and he's seeing that like he's having an impact on different aspects of the government, that is what gets him going in the morning. So, the word coup has been thrown around a lot lately, and I think that we need to get to the bottom of this. So if you haven't been keeping up on the news, hopefully this is going to be a pretty good one-stop shop for you to get everything that you need to know about the Department of Government Efficiency. Starting off with, what is the Department of Government Efficiency? Let's take a listen to our good old friend, National Public Radio.
Elon's not being paid for this. Not that he needs money. He's the richest man in the world. But, he is subject to certain ethics rules. But what is he doing? So I think taking a step back from that, I think we should just sort of reimagine how we think of DOGE. Because when we first started talking about DOGE, everyone thought it was going to be kind of like this blue ribbon committee that was going to make recommendation to Congress. And Congress would be like, oh, yeah, maybe we could cut spending there, cut spending here. Instead, it is turning into a unit inside of the federal government. These deputies of Musk who are being dubbed the DOGE kids are going into agencies and ripping out cords and denying civil servants access and sometimes saying they're going to dismantle entire agencies. It's creating all sorts of mayhem and confusion and just raising all sorts of legal and ethical questions.
Let's just quickly address this question of conflict of interest, because the special government employee status does not get them out of the rules of being a federal employee.
Yeah, that's right. And so I talked to a couple former top ethics lawyers in the White House under different administrations, and they said, Elon is in a tricky situation as a special government employee because he controls 6 major companies, including SpaceX, the rocket company, Tesla, the electric vehicle company. There are just so many ways in which his private company interests could run headlong into a federal government investigation, or, maybe he's getting subsidies from some part of the federal government. And it's by law, and it's very clear he cannot be involved in any matter that could have a predictable effect on his financial interests. And that means one of his 6 companies. So government watchdog types are looking at Elon and saying he's a special government employee. He runs 6 companies. I mean, what a potential ethical quagmire. And it's really unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Okay, so let's just pause it there because I think it's pretty relevant to this Donald Trump interview, which is hilarious. Obviously, if you are running like multiple billion-dollar companies and now you get to slash government spending, that's going to open up a wide variety of advantages you can get from this position where you basically control government spending. Oh, I don't like any of the government spending on my competitors, but I think the government spending on myself, that is very efficient spending. So we should have all of the spending go through my companies. That's a very obvious first take that you can come up with for how that could enrich Elon Musk further. But Donald Trump, he doesn't really have that kind of first thought instinct.
The people, look, I ran on this, and the people want me to find it. And I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific.
Bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him to do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. And, the people elected me on that.
So it's just so funny. He's like, oh yeah, I don't think Elon Musk is gaining anything from this. And then he even makes a comment. How does he even have the time to do any of this? Also, I think it's hilarious that he's saying we're going to look at the Department of Education before the military, when the military's failed, 7 audits in a row? Yeah, we got to have our priorities straight and go after those big money teachers, right? You got to take down that big money teaching corporations. Anyway, let's continue with this NPR story.
President Trump was asked about that yesterday in the Oval Office, and he was somewhat dismissive of the idea that Musk could run afoul of ethics problems.
And I'm impressed because he's running, obviously, a big company. It has nothing to do, if there's a conflict, that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better.
Yeah, so Shannon, let's get into the nitty-gritty detail a little bit about what DOGE is doing, what they've done so far, where they are.
This is a team that has moved incredibly quickly. And, despite the name, it is not its own department. It is basically an office within the White House. But it is very rapidly moving out across agencies, like across the federal government. Elon Musk says that DOGE is currently in the process of shutting down the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. That agency has had tons of people who have been, kind of put on leave. And now there's threats that they're just going to shut it down entirely, fold it into the State Department. DOGE representatives have also gained access to the Treasury Department's payment system, which, is basically the government's checkbook. Like, this is a system that processes trillions of dollars in spending every year. It's everything from Social Security benefits and Medicare benefits to, payments to federal contractors to people's tax returns. DOGE has also essentially kind of taken control of the Office of Personnel Management, which is effectively the federal government's HR department. And there they have, access to, highly sensitive information about, personnel files of, federal workers. He's also, Musk and DOGE have taken a lot of interest in the General Services Administration, which is the government agency that basically handles like real estate. And again, office space, but also handles kind of technology throughout the government. And that's an area where Musk has really focused this idea that, government technology could be run better. There's been floated these ideas that they could be using AI to sort of look at activity and spending across the government and rein it in. So it's just at this point, it feels like it's very little that DOGE is sort of not touching or expressing interest in touching as they pursue this goal that Musk has laid out of drastically cutting federal spending.
Is this essentially a technology takeover? Is this, I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around what it is that they are trying to do with all of this access?
I mean, that is kind of the big question, and that is the question that is raising a lot of these concerns, right? Like, there's all kinds of questions about what the purpose of this access is going to be, and there's such a lack of transparency around what DOGE is doing, which is ironic because Musk has also described sort of the need for this as that there's not enough transparency in terms of where government spending is going. But, we just don't really have a sense, besides his public statements, about what it is they're trying to do.
And he is making a lot of public statements.
He has made a lot of public statements. He held a long audio chat on his X platform late Sunday night with Senators Joni Ernst and Mike Lee, two Republicans, sort of talking about DOGE's accomplishments so far, specifically talking about these plans to shut down USAID. And generally just sort of framing this as being about, really feeling there's government overreach. It's very ideological, the framing that Musk is putting on this. He feels that that these agencies, again, these congressionally mandated agencies who are doing the business of government, are unelected bureaucrats who are not accountable to the people, and he thinks there's too much regulation, and he wants to get rid of it. Regulations in particular, the rules.
Once again, I think it's just so funny. Elon Musk railing against these unelected bureaucrats when he's literally describing himself in that statement. Not a good situation at all. Elon Musk is basically getting his tendrils into all aspects of the government. It's essentially an office that is only answers to the president, and the president answers to Elon Musk. So basically, Elon Musk has unfettered access to the entirety of the federal government. And the real question is going to be, is Elon Musk going to have the power to actually do anything? And he's going to try to do things for sure. He's already shut down USAID. He's offered the 9-month acceptance for people to get phased out of their jobs. He's sent that letter out. All of these things are actions that they've been trying to do. And the real answer is, are the Republicans in Congress going to allow the executive branch to completely usurp the function of Congress and basically stand by and let Donald Trump take over the jobs and basically dictate how the entire United States federal budget is going to be spent? I use the word dictate for a reason. Are the Republicans in Congress and the Supreme Court, once these legal challenges, and there have been multiple legal challenges against DOGE, once all of these reach the Supreme Court, is the Supreme Court and are the Republicans in Congress basically going to let Donald Trump just walk all over them? Or are they going to have a spine? I mean, that's kind of an oxymoron, right? A Republican with a spine in today's climate. It's not looking good, to say the least. So we can come back to this NPR article, but let's just read a little bit here. So DOGE is making major changes to the federal government. Is it legal? An office empowered by President Trump to make major changes to the federal government is already moving quickly, but critics have questioned the legality of some of its actions. DOGE was created by Trump via an executive order on his first day back in office. Trump put tech billionaire and advisor Elon Musk in charge. The office launched in 2014, United States Digital Service Office that Obama made. Is it legal? Some Democrats have condemned the wide latitude and access given to DOGE. On Monday, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said that before our very eyes, an unelected shadow government is conducting a hostile takeover of the federal government. DOGE was the subject of a lawsuit filed on the day it was created by a group of organizations questioning the legality of the new entity, including the consumer advocacy group Public Citizen, the State Democracy Defenders Fund, and the American Federation of Government Employees, a union representing around 800,000 government workers. The plaintiffs argue that DOGE is a kind of advisory committee that should be subject to certain federal rules, including transparency requirements. According to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, Musk is what's known as a special government employee. Yeah, special is a good term there. A temporary appointment that allows him to work for 130 days per year. That means he's subject to different ethics and disclosure rules than regular federal employees. That's completely bullshit. They just made that up. The White House did not immediately respond to requests seeking more information about DOGE. So what are they working on? Musk has said that DOGE is already working on shutting down U.S. aid, and they effectively have. The decision to scrutinize this 6-decade-old organization, which Musk said he made with Trump's approval, was welcomed by some Republicans and received pushback from Democrats. USAID, which is basically the United States' arm of expanding soft power throughout the entire world. Essentially, if we are going to fund these countries that are underdeveloped and help with vaccines, help with food aid, and help with just like general development, then these countries are going to be indebted to the United States. And the issue is, it's like, if the United States is sending out these kind of these welfare packages and these developmental packages to these underdeveloped countries, then of course that's spreading United States influence. However, this is a concerning pause, because when the United States stops doing soft power, then you really expect to see Donald Trump start using hard power, and basically, instead of actually spreading influence through aid to other countries, we're going to have influence spread through military. So expect to see Donald Trump really expand the military here. DOGE also has access to a Treasury Department payment system the government uses to cut checks to everyone from Social Security beneficiaries to government contractors. The move prompted another lawsuit from advocacy groups and unions alleging that DOGE's access to the Treasury database violates federal privacy laws. Trump said Musk has got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval. DOGE employees are also working with the Trump administration on potentially drastic cuts to the Department of Education. Basically, it's like Trump is almost like allowing himself to skirt any kind of the blame for slashing all of these government programs, and he has Elon as kind of his executioner. But it's like Elon's the executioner that also gets to decide who he executes. And you really do almost just we've reverted back to having like a king who is simply just a puppet figure, and you have the guy with all of the real power, both like monetarily wise and also the power to actually be effective behind the scenes in Elon Musk, and he just has Trump there as the figurehead. Within minutes of Trump being sworn in, the first lawsuit against DOGE was filed, alleging that the team is illegal since it gave private individuals roles in government decision-making. Since then, DOGE's work has prompted numerous suits, including one on Thursday from unions representing employees at USAID. Musk has railed against the Humanitarian Assistance Agency as a criminal organization. The Trump administration plans to reduce its staff to fewer than 300 from more than 13,000. Another legal battle launched by unions representing Treasury workers led to a federal judge issuing an order on Wednesday limiting what kind of access DOGE employees can have to highly sensitive systems that process trillions of dollars in government payments every year. Legal experts say the scope of DOGE's work is likely to hinge on the outcome of what could become dozens of lawsuits challenging the unit's power. Some of those cases could end up being decided by the Supreme Court. So once again, this is going to be up to Congress and the Supreme Court to decide whether they want Donald Trump and his little shadow daddy Elon Musk to be dictators, or if they actually want to stand up and try to defend some kind of shred of American democracy. So let's talk about this. The federal judge blocks Elon Musk's DOGE access to critical Treasury payment system. So the judge cited a risk of irreparable harm has temporarily restricted Elon Musk's government efficiency team from accessing a critical Treasury Department payment system. So it seems like once DOGE is gaining access to these payments, they're also applying pressure to the people in charge to shut off the payments, but they don't actually have the ability to shut them off themselves. But once again, if Elon Musk is only answering to the president, then he basically has the entire weight of the executive branch when he's putting pressure onto these organizations to shut off payments. And that's how you get into this quagmire where these people are like, Elon Musk is telling me to stop paying my employees. Congress passed a budget allowing me to pay my employees this much. Should I pay them or not? Like, what's going on? And there's really no clear answer to this. And this is why this is not a good situation. And this is going to lead us into a constitutional crisis where some members of government are going to say one thing and then other members are going to say the other thing. And we're going to have a really bad breakdown in terms of like the cohesiveness of the government. And this could lead to things this country has never seen before. I mean, I guess since the Civil War. The ask was so out of line with how Treasury normally operates, it prompted a skeptical reply from David Librick, then serving as acting Treasury Secretary, who said he did not believe we have the legal authority to stop an authorized payment certified by an agency. Librick suggested a legally less risky approach would be for the State Department, which oversees USAID, to rescind the payments itself and examine whether they complied with President Donald Trump's Inauguration Day executive order freezing foreign development aid. Tom Krause, a former tech executive, now the top DOGE staffer at Treasury, responded that Librick could have legal risk himself should he choose not to comply. Once again, this is exactly what I was saying. It's like, you're telling me to do this. I've been instructed to do this by the Constitution and my job description. You're telling me to basically break the law, but then if I refuse to follow your orders, you're saying that that's breaking the law. This back and forth reveals the first known indication that Trump's DOGE emissaries sought to use Treasury's tools to block some payments fulfilling the president's political agenda. The ensuing controversy set off a chain reaction around Washington this week, sparking a tense political debate and emergency court proceedings over DOGE's access to the system and the administration's potential interest in using it to turn off payments as it chooses. The controversy has also drawn attention to a previously obscure office inside Treasury called the Bureau of Fiscal Service, which processes more than 1 billion payments totaling more than $5 trillion a year. The payment system reliably distributes Americans' tax returns, social security benefits, disability payments, and federal employees' salaries. It has historically been off limits to political appointees, but Musk and his allies appear bent on breaking that precedent. In fact, Krause and his top deputy traveled to Kansas City to visit the federal office that operates the payment systems for the BFS, an ask they made prior to Trump's inauguration that was denied by career Treasury officials at the time. The critical, if largely unknown, BFS payment system is just one of the government nerve centers across Washington that, in less than 3 weeks, Musk and his DOGE teams have sought to disrupt or gain access to, including those responsible for the federal government's workforce, real estate portfolio, computer systems, and records management, just to name a few. People underestimate how quickly things could go if someone starts messing with things with multiple systems underpinned by technology that isn't native to any engineer, no matter how brilliant, said one former BFS career official. Pausing automatic payments. What we would like to do is, to the extent permitted by law, temporarily pause the automatic processing of payment files from a USA division called Health Systems Strengthening, Katz wrote. Katz also wrote that Krause, Musk's deputy at Treasury should be given access to the payment systems so he and his team could take action. Some of the administration's plan, Katz added, included immediately pausing all payment files still in the queue and letting Krause and others look at individual payments certified by USAID for the healthcare systems. The State Department could then look closer at the payments through USAID, Katz added. The Health System Strengthening Program at USAID has primarily funneled money into countries in Africa and Southeast Asia, as well as Indonesia, the Philippines, Guatemala, and Haiti. The funds were aimed at building the countries' health systems so they could improve care to prevent infants and mothers from dying in childbirth, control the spread of HIV and AIDS, and other infectious diseases, among other projects. In one project touted on the now archived USAID website, the division funded an emergency room in Jordan. Its distributions are now in a 90-day pause because of Trump's executive order. After Katz's initial message 2 weeks ago, Lebrick was explicit that the Treasury Department shouldn't do what DOGE proposed. There are also practical and personal liability issues that may come into play, Lebrick wrote, but Krause, a special hire from DOGE sent to Treasury, was undeterred. I would also recommend you consider an equal alternative liability, he wrote to Lebrick. This is crazy, dude. So they're literally just squeezing these civil servants between the written law and just the law that the fucking goons that Elon Musk has hired are making up. I believe we can all feel more comfortable that we hold payment at least to review the underlying payment request from USAID so that we can be given time to consult state, Krause wrote, ending a middle-of-night email on Saturday. It's just like these guys don't actually have any knowledge of whether these payments are fraudulent or not, or whether they're efficient or not. I mean, what are they going to say? Oh, you built an emergency room in Jordan. That's not efficient. So we're going to stop further payments to like build more hospitals in Jordan. It doesn't make any sense. You can change the policy, but freezing the money that's going out there is not changing the policy. Once again, this is just all about Donald Trump expanding control as much as possible and asserting his dominance over pretty much all aspects of the government. He wants to have complete control, become a complete dictator, and stepping into agencies that really no president has ever gotten involved with before is a major part of that. It's not that Donald Trump cares about corruption. It's not even that he cares about government efficiency. It's just about Donald Trump flexing. When he's flexing and he's seeing that he's having an impact on different aspects of the government, that is what gets him going in the morning.